The Witcher is my favorite franchise of all time, not just in gaming, but franchise period. The dark fantasy series encompasses 8 fantastic books by Andrzej Sapkowski, 3 main games, several spin-off games, underrated in my opinion, and nothing else. However, today I want to talk about the main series of games, specifically The Witcher 2, Assassin of Kings. While The Witcher 3 is highly regarded as one of the best RPGs of all time, and The Witcher 1, I consider it to be a very good game, being it a very clunky and poorly aged experience on CD Projekt Red's first attempt at publishing, which I only recommend to hard-die Witcher fans like myself, or just wait and hope that the remake actually makes it out of development. However, The Witcher 2 sits somewhere in the middle, like literally on the middle, and while it was successful on release, and is not by all means like a hidden gem that nobody play or something like that, I believe that the game's fame as a PC melter, plus tough competition close to release, made it hard for The Witcher 2 to actually break through the mainstream like The Witcher 3 will later do, which is a shame, because I believe that The Witcher 2 has aged pretty good, and every RPG enjoyer, not just Witcher fans, should give it a try. So let's explore the good and the bad about this game. I will keep this video relatively spoiler free in terms of story points, however I will spoil the premise of the main story and the main conflict of the first chapter of the game, as well as using some game shots and examples from all acts of the game to illustrate my points, and hopefully I am able to convince you to give this gem a go. There are different characteristics that define a game as an RPG: creating or playing as a certain character on a well-defined world, interacting with interesting characters, leveling up, acquiring skills and becoming stronger, different dialogue options, changing the world around you. While all these things are marketing bullet points for a lot of modern games, the RPGs that stand out the most are the ones that do one or a couple of these things extremely well. And the main sauce for The Witcher 2, in my opinion, is choice and consequence. A lot of games just throw you a dialogue wheel and move on, without any of those choices having any impact on your gameplay or the story. However, the choices in The Witcher 2 matter, and I mean chapters, zones, and the factions you interact with being completely different based on your choices, as well as having completely different quests at the last act of the game. And it goes the same for side quests too. They might not have the same impact as the main story, but they do have different outcomes and are full of that Witcher world charm.
Mrs. Back! Good! Troll-like!
Me back for Wisher asked. Stay away if Wisher not ask.
Mrs. Wise!
The premise of the game has you play of course as Geralt of Rivia, professional monster slayer and sorceress pickup artist.
I've always done well with sorceresses.
Not so fast.
After saving the life of King Foltest of Temeria from an assassin, the king takes Geralt into his service, knowing there has been multiple assassination attempts on several kings in the north. However, one day, while fighting an insurrection, King Foltest gets killed, and Geralt gets framed for the murder. He's thrown in a dungeon, waiting for execution. He escapes with the help of Vernon Roach, the leader of the Blue Stripes, Temeria's special forces.
They'll publicly gut you, skin you, and hang you. Just like that. For nothing?
No. For Temeria.
With the hope of Geralt helping him catch the real murderer. Following the assassin's trail, they arrive at the port town of Flopsen that is being terrorized by the elven guerrilla group known as the Scoia'tael, led by their infamous leader, Hiorveth.
Vernon Roach, Special Forces Commander for the last 4 years, servant of the Temerian King, responsible for the pacification of the Mahakaman foothills, hunter of elves, murderer of women and children, twice decorated for valor on the field of battle.
Yorveth, a regular son of a whore!
However, your motivation doesn't have to be to just catch the killer, clear your name, and avenge the king with Vernon Roach. You can pursue the man for Geralt's own personal reasons, or just ignore the hunt altogether and follow the story threads that come along the way in your playthrough, and this will forge the outcome that you will get at the end of the game. That is one of the main things that I love about the Witcher games as RPGs. Of course, you always play as Geralt, however, you have the freedom to mold him as the type of man you want him to be. So, The Witcher 2 is not an open world game. Every chapter gives you a relatively small area to explore with your usual Witcher stuff. Side quests, monster contracts, minigames, and of course, brothels.
Well, well, a Witcher. Girls, trim yourselves.
There is a little bit of exploration, however it does feel like everything is a bit stacked together and is nowhere near the exploration that you will get on The Witcher 3. You won't be running on your horse, admiring the beautiful sunset over the destroyed lives of peasants. Lady, can you please stop trying to watch the sunset over here? This could be a positive or a negative, depending on your taste and what you're looking for. However, I believe this is a good thing. This way, CDPR was able to give us a much more focused experience with more emphasis on the main story, the characters, and the choices. Honestly, I wish more modern games were like this. Not every game has to be a 200-hour open world experience just because, you know. However, there is enough exploration on this game to keep you entertained and not feeling like you're rushing through the main story. Plus, this design makes the weight of your choices feel more impactful since you'll be locked out of areas and quests depending on your choices. In a lot of modern RPGs, sometimes its openness ruins the immersion a bit, since no matter what you do, devs want you to be able to experience everything the game has to offer at once. And I'm not saying that open world games are bad, by the way. I love these games, just trying to show the strengths of both designs and how sometimes less can be way more. And what this game does offer is immersion, specifically on the political and social structure of the realistic fantasy world of The Witcher. The town of Flotsam, as an example, where chapter 1 takes place, is a very small port that seems insignificant at first. However, its strategic position at the border with the kingdom of Erin and being next to the Pontar River makes it a connection point for numerous trading routes in the northern kingdoms. Whoever controls this little town stands to gain quite a profit, and after King Foltest's death, the settlement is vulnerable to be taken over by neighbor kingdoms. This combined with racial tensions, mostly spread by the commandant of the post, Bernard Lorido, between humans and non-human races, elves and dwarves, partly justified because of the numerous atrocities that the Scoia'tael commit against Flotsam people, and unjustified because the non-humans living here have no connection with the Scoia'tael at all and are just trying to live normal lives. All of this makes this town a ticking time bomb, and your choices will decide if this bomb goes off or not. During this whole playthrough, you will be presented with these morally complex scenarios to shape and take part in. I love the political landscape of The Witcher because there are always valid arguments to support one side over the other, or sometimes both sides are just crap and you have to choose what you think is the lesser evil. It's like when you play Fallout New Vegas and a decade later you're still wondering like what is the best faction for the Mojave? Man, I just love when developers write compelling factions like that. So if you're like me and enjoy fantastical and well-written political intrigue, The Witcher 2 is certainly the game in the trilogy where this aspect takes center stage and Geralt is caught in the middle. As you follow the story, the truth and the political players will be revealing themselves, so you can shape the political landscape and make decisions based on what you think is the right choice, or you can just ignore politics and do what's best for Geralt and his friends.
Geralt!
One fantastic aspect that this game has to offer you on its dialogue system is that it gives you the possibility to actually fail on a conversation. And by failing, I mean I wish devs were less afraid about showing you an endgame screen. It helps to create a much more tense experience and think carefully about what you're going to say when you are talking to a dangerous character.
This is nice.
Another thing that I really love about this game is the atmosphere and characters. The world of The Witcher can be really dark. Constant wars, political unrest, poverty, racism are always present. However, they are depicted in a very believable way. No faction or character ever feels cartoonish. You can always understand how even the most despicable characters come to be the way they are, and this tension is always balanced with, in my opinion, excellent comedic moments to ease the tension.
This is a decent town. Whores and witches notwithstanding.
Watch your words, guardsman! I don't know witches, but Margot's a decent woman!
I think it's that Eastern European way of seeing the world, you know? I love it. Geralt's friends are another reason why this world feels so immersive. CDPR always makes the character dynamics between Geralt and his entourage feel so endearing and realistic that even if you don't know any of these characters and their backstory together, you can still see that connection they have and feel like they're actually your friends. And the most hilarious moments in the series always come from their interactions with Geralt's stoic and grumpy personality.
Have you ever heard of a plant called the Dwarven Immortelle?
Have we? The pigs have tight arses.
To tell the truth, I've no idea, Skaggs.
It's just a saying.
You're the only one using it.
One of the main criticisms that put people out of playing The Witcher 2 is its combat system. Movement feels a bit clunky and restrictive, and Geralt responds, or rather doesn't respond, fast enough to player input sometimes, making you overextend on your attacks and sometimes not getting out of the way of attacks in time. This combined with strange hitboxes makes it so you have to basically predict enemy attacks and roll out of the way before they make their full animations in order to not get hit. And you're gonna be rolling out a lot because blocking and parrying is basically useless in this game. However, I did 2 full playthroughs before doing this video. First one on hard and the second one on dark difficulty, which meant that I basically got 1 or 2 shotted by everything. And I gotta say that the combat for this game is alright, but that's it. It's just alright. It's not great by any means. However, it gets the job done. It does make you feel like a Witcher.
I'm a Witcher.
I believe that some of the signs, which is the magic that Geralt can use, are better executed in this game than The Witcher 3. Like Gwen, for example, is still very powerful in this game. However, the way you cast signs is by spending 1 vigor point per sign, and when you have Gwen active, you cannot regenerate vigor points, meaning that Gwen is still very useful for survival. However, you don't get to spam it and turn the game into easy mode by doing so. You have to manage your resources and use it strategically. Yrden is also better in this game in my opinion because it actually works like a trap. You can immobilize opponents instead of slowing them down. I also prefer the alchemy system on The Witcher 2 over The Witcher 3, just for the simple fact that you can't drink potions during combat. This adds a lot of strategy and immersion to the game, in my opinion, because it means that you have to prepare for combat like a true Witcher would. You know, like those cutscenes where Geralt drinks the potion before facing a monster. And some potions do have negative side effects, like reducing vitality, so you actually have to think which potions will stack better together for the type of build you're going for. However, I do understand why some people might not like this, because you could get on a combat encounter that you were not expecting, and if you invested on a heavy alchemy build and didn't chug your potions beforehand, then you're going to be on a severe disadvantage, most likely having to reload a save. Also, the game balance can be a little bit strange sometimes. It's fine for almost the whole game. Once you get used to the combat, it's decently challenged depending on the difficulty you pick, but fair. However, the first encounter with the main antagonist of the game is a bit cheap. You will get your ass kicked a lot before you figure a strategy to beat him. And of course, this can be very frustrating, especially if you rush through the story and were not prepared for this fight. But honestly, this is the only encounter where I felt that it was unfair. You get your usual perk tree. Every time you level up, you get some talent points that you can spend on perks. When you invest enough points into a skill tree, you get these very powerful adrenaline abilities that you can improve with mutagens for better bonuses for Geralt. And regardless of the type of build you do, the game lets you get very strong by mid to end game. So, like many games, you might struggle a bit at the beginning, but eventually get strong enough that the balance won't matter much in terms of difficulty. So, unless you just want to experience the story with no challenge, my recommended difficulty for a decent experience where you have to put some thought on your build and use your tools to actually feel like a Witcher will be playing on hard. Overall, I think that the combat, while being flawed and a bit unresponsive, is still very fun and should not be a big deterrent on your enjoyment of this game. And if we're honest, the combat system on action RPGs is never the main attraction or the reason why we play these games. I mean, the combat in The Witcher 3 is also very criticized, and still people love the game for other particular reasons that the game does extremely well. Assassin of Kings also offers a series of minigames for you to partake in during your playthrough: dice poker, fistfights, and arm wrestling, and they are kind of bad. Fist fighting is just quick time events, arm wrestling is about keeping your cursor on a line, and dice poker is just, dice poker. It's just about luck. There was definitely not a petition for CDPR to make any of this a standalone game like Gwent will be later, let me tell you. However, what I will say is that these minigames are an excuse for you to interact with characters, and there is where the Witcher world charm makes a kind of meh objective into something fun.
And some say he can hang a bucket full of water from his cock.
By the way, I always find funny how people let Geralt participate on these fistfights. When you think about it, Witchers are practically humans that have been injected with the best steroids in the world since they're kids, and they put him against like some peasant fighting to be able to afford a piece of bread for his family? In my opinion, the real champs are the natural athletes that compete in the honest sport of drunken fights, let me tell you. Anyways. Of course, you get your usual monster contracts like I said before, which are always fun. After all, what is a Witcher game without any witchering? And I do like that the game incentivizes you to actually read books about the monsters you're hunting, or to kill enough of those monsters to actually be able to progress on the contract. It makes you feel more like a true professional, you know? However, it is kind of funny that at the last act of the game, you get to this place where all the political intrigue is going to be resolved, and there's still somebody with a monster problem. There are some game mechanics that of course will feel outdated by today's gaming standards. I think out of the trilogy, this is the game where CDPR experimented more with different design choices. You got your quick time events, your press a button real fast to fill the bar thingy, and puzzles. And if you must know something about me is that I am a certified stupid person, so I dislike puzzles. I usually try to solve them for about 5 minutes and then get bored and look for the answer. Of course, if you like puzzles, this is gonna be a plus for you, and none are intrusive enough to mess with the flow of the story. My original plan for this video was to do 2 playthroughs, one completely vanilla and the second one modded, to give an alternative for people that maybe could not stand the combat system and also wanted to modernize the looks of the game a bit. After all, my goal with this video is to actually convince you to play the game, but honestly, I got to the conclusion that it kinda wasn't necessary. I'm not going to say that the game looks like a modern release or anything, but for a 2011 game, it looks quite stunning. And in terms of the combat system, it will mean fundamentally changing the whole gameplay aspect of the game. So at the end, I didn't want to make a video about how the game has aged great and then say, oh, but you need these mods for it to work. I recommend that if you haven't played it yet, just try it out vanilla. It's worth it. And by the way, it's $7.60 on GOG right now. At the end, I just used 2 mods for my second playthrough that do not change the fundamental game whatsoever, those being a new look for Vernon Roach to make his blue stripes armor actually blue, and extended sex scenes.
My favourite type of magic, lesbomancy.
Thanks so much for watching till the end. I actually was not planning on making this. I booted The Witcher 2 to record some footage for my next character video. However, I ended up playing the game all over again and decided to actually make a video and give my thoughts on it. So how about you? Have you played The Witcher 2? What are your thoughts about it? I love to read them on the comments. But besides that, I do hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and good luck on the path.